3 weeks ago, I sat across from a couple in their early 30s. Let's call them Mike and Jennifer, who were about to make what they thought was the smartest financial decision of their lives. They'd saved $80,000 for a down payment, gotten pre-approved for mortgage, and were ready to buy their first home in Calgary. But when I showed them the real numbers, not just the mortgage payment, but the actual cost of ownership, Jennifer started crying. We've been doing this all wrong, she said. What's up, guys? I'm Felix Chan, born and raised in Calgary, and as a realtor and mortgage broker, I've had this conversation so many times. And what I've learned might surprise you. Sometimes the best financial decision is the one that goes against everything you've been told your entire life.
That's deep.
See, we've all heard the same advice since we were kids. Rent is throwing money away. Buy a house and build equity. Your parents said it, your friends say it. Every real estate article you've ever read says it. But what if I told you that in today's Calgary market, following that advice blindly could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime? Today, I'm gonna walk you through something that most people never see. The real math behind renting versus buying in Calgary. Not the simplified version you get from mortgage calculators or real estate blogs, but the complete, full picture that includes costs nobody talks about, opportunities most people miss, and scenarios that could completely change your financial future. By the end of the video, you'll understand why Mike and Jennifer made a decision that shocked their families, why some of Calgary's wealthiest people choose to rent, and most importantly, you'll have a framework to make the right choice for your situation, whether that's buying now, renting longer, or something in between. Because the truth is, this isn't just about monthly payments or building equity. It's about understanding what wealth actually means, what freedom actually costs, and what decision will help you build the life you actually want, not the life everyone tells you you're supposed to want. If you're tired of generic real estate advice and want the real numbers that help you make smart decisions, hit that subscribe button right now. We break down Calgary's market with complete transparency, even when the truth isn't what people want to hear. The real cost nobody talks about. Okay, let's start by destroying the biggest lie in real estate. And I'm going to use real Calgary numbers to show you exactly what I mean. The $2,400 rent versus $2,400 mortgage myth. When most people compare renting to buying, they look at their $2,400 monthly rent and think, I could probably have my own mortgage payment for the same amount and actually own something. This comparison isn't just wrong, it's financially dangerous. Let me show you what I mean with a real example from last month. I had a client looking at a townhouse in Bridgeland, listed at $550,000. With 20% down, her mortgage payment would have been about $2,400 monthly. She was renting a similar place for $2,200 and thought, well, I'm only $200 away from owning. But when we sat down and calculated the real cost of ownership, everything changed. Property taxes in that area, $3,630 annually. That's $302 monthly you'll never see again. Home insurance, $2,100 annually, another $175 monthly. Condo fee, $400 monthly. And I would budget at least $200 monthly for the inevitable repairs and maintenance. Add it up, $2,400 mortgage plus $302 taxes, $175 insurance, $400 condo fees, and $200 maintenance equals $3,477 monthly.
Can you afford that house?
That $200 difference was actually $1,277 more per month to own. But there's an even bigger cost hiding in that down payment. One that could be the difference between comfortable retirement and working until you're 70. The $110,000 question. When my client put $110,000 down on that townhome, she wasn't just buying a home. She was making an investment choice. And most people never think about what that choice actually costs them. Over the past 30 years, the S&P 500 has returned an average of 7.19% annually after inflation. Calgary residential real estate, about 2.5% annually after inflation. That's a 4.69% difference. And on $110,000, that difference is $5,159 every single year. Let me put that into perspective. By choosing to put that money into a house instead of investments, she's giving up $430 monthly in potential returns. Add that to our previous calculation of $3,477 plus $430 equals $3,907 monthly total cost of ownership. Compare that to our $2,200 in rent. The real difference isn't $200, it's $1,707 per month. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Felix, she's building equity while the renter is getting nothing. And that's where the math really gets interesting and really uncomfortable for a lot of people. The equity mirage. Yes, homeowners build equity, but in the early years of a mortgage, most of your payment disappears into interest, money you'll never see again. Just like rent. On that $440,000 mortgage at 4.5% for the first 5 years, my client would pay on average $1,555 monthly in interest and only $890 in principal. Out of her $2,400 mortgage payment, only $890 actually builds equity. The other $1,555? Gone forever. Meanwhile, if a renter invested that $1,707 monthly difference in a diversified portfolio earning 7% annually, after 5 years, they'd have approximately $122,000. The homeowner's equity after 5 years? About $53,000 in principal payments, plus whatever the property appreciated. For the homeowner to come out ahead, that townhome would need to appreciate at about 7 to 8% annually, well above Calgary's historical average of about 2.5% after inflation. I watched my client process these numbers. She'd been so focused on building equity that she'd never considered what she was giving up to get it, when buying actually makes sense. Now, before you think I'm telling everyone to rent forever, let me be clear. There are scenarios where buying is the right choice, but they're more specific than most people realize, and they have nothing to do with throwing money away. The multi-year rule. I had another client last year, a teacher named David, who'd been renting in Martin Loop for 3 years. He came to me asking if he should buy. And the first question I asked him was, are you staying in Calgary for at least 7 to 10 years? He looked confused. What does that have to do with anything? He asked. Everything. Actually, in the first 5 to 10 years, most of your mortgage payment goes to interest. There isn't a lot being paid down on your principal. Property prices would need to rise enough to cover real estate fees, legal costs, moving expenses, and to get your down payment back. Sure, if you bought in a booming market, the time you need to hold on to the home might be shorter, but there's no guarantee where the market will go. The biggest factor isn't about how much equity you've built. It's about what is the market doing when you need to sell. If prices haven't moved much, the risk of selling at a loss grows, and only time will tell. David was planning to stay in Calgary long term. He loved his teaching job, his partner worked here, and they were planning to start a family. For them, this home was a 10-year plan. That's when buying started to make sense. With a longer timeline, transaction costs matter less. Mortgage payments become a form of forced savings, and the stability of fixed housing costs becomes valuable. But there's something about homeownership that creates wealth in a way that has nothing to do with appreciation or equity. The discipline factor. Okay, let me tell you about 2 friends of mine, both software developers, both making about $95,000 annually, and both are in their early 30s. 10 years ago, one bought a modest bungalow in Forest Lawn for $320,000. The other rented a nice apartment downtown for $1,400 monthly, and he swore he'd invest the difference. Fast forward to today, the homeowner has about $140,000 in equity because properties are selling for about $460,000. The renter, he has $12,000 in his investment account. So what happened? Well, life happened. The renter had good intentions, but every month there was something else that came up. A vacation, a new car, better restaurants, upgraded tech. He wasn't irresponsible, he just didn't have the forced discipline that a mortgage payment creates. The average Canadian household saves only 3.74% of disposable income annually, but homeowners are forced to save through their mortgage payments, that principal portion that builds up equity whether you think about it or not. This forced savings effect is pretty powerful because it removes temptation. You can't skip your mortgage payment to buy a new TV. You can't reduce it because you want to go on vacation. It's automatic wealth building for people who struggle with financial discipline. And then there's a scenario where buying becomes almost essential. And it's happening more frequently in Calgary. The family equation. Last spring, I worked with a couple, Sarah and Tom, who were renting a 3-bedroom house in Killarney for about $2,800 monthly. They had 2 kids, ages 4 and 6, and they were happy with their rental situation. Then their landlord called. He was selling the property and they had 90 days to find a new place. Sarah was in tears when she called me.
We can't move the kids to a new school district. Emma just made friends. Jacob's teacher understands his learning style. We can't start over.
But finding another rental in the same school district was nearly impossible. The few available options were much more than $2,800 monthly. So we looked at buying instead. We ended up finding a 3-bedroom house, 3 blocks from their rental in the 800,000s. Now, their monthly payment was much higher than their previous rent, but they had full control of their life. No landlord could force them to move. They could install a playset in the backyard. They had stability. When you have kids, the equation changes. School district stability becomes crucial. The ability to customize your space matters more. And the risk of forced relocation becomes unacceptable. But there's one financial advantage to buying that most people completely overlook, and it's massive. The tax-free jackpot. In Canada, your principal residence is completely tax-free when you sell. No capital gains tax, no matter how much profit you make. This is one of the most powerful wealth building tools available to Canadians. Let me show you what this means with real numbers. Say you bought a $600,000 home in Calgary today. If it appreciates at just 3% annually, it would be worth about $1.08 million in 20 years. That $480,000 gain is completely tax-free. Compare that to investing in stocks or other assets where you'll pay capital gains tax on 50% of your profits. On a $480,000 gain, that could be $60,000 to $120,000 in taxes, depending on your income level. This tax advantage becomes more powerful the longer you own and the higher your income tax bracket. It's one of the few remaining tax shelters available to average Canadians. The Calgary reality. Now, let's talk about what makes Calgary different, because our unique market conditions change the rent versus buy equation in ways that don't apply in Toronto or Vancouver. The closing window. Calgary is still one of Canada's most affordable major cities, but that advantage is shrinking faster than most people realize. I showed a property in Banff Trail recently, a renovated bungalow listed at $850,000. The buyers were from Toronto, and when they saw the price, they actually laughed. They said, in our neighborhood, this would be a $1.5 million. And they're not wrong. Calgary's average detached home price of $807,000 is roughly 61% of Toronto's GTA of $1.3 million and less than half of Vancouver's $2.1 million. This smaller gap makes buying more attractive in Calgary than other major Canadian cities. But that window is closing as more people discover what we already know. But Calgary's economy creates a unique risk that you need to understand before making this decision. The boom and bust reality. I've lived through 3 major economic cycles in Calgary, and each one taught me something about the risk of home ownership in this city. In 2007, I watched homes in my neighborhood sell for $100,000 over asking with multiple offers. Oil was at $140 per barrel, and everyone thought it would stay there forever. My neighbor bought a house in Tuscany for $485,000, the absolute peak of the market.
Yesterday's huge plunge.
Price of a barrel of oil from Alberta's oil sands has fallen to a record low.
Then 2008 hit. Oil crashed. By 2009, the same house was worth around $400,000. My neighbor couldn't sell without taking a massive loss, but he'd also lost his job in the oil industry. He ended up in foreclosure. Fast forward to 2013, oil was back up, the market was hot again, and people were buying with confidence. Then oil crashed again in late 2014. I watched entire neighborhoods go from bidding wars to rows of for sale signs within 18 months. Now, this volatility is unique to Calgary. About 25% of Alberta's GDP comes from oil and gas, and when that sector struggles, our entire economy feels it. If you buy at the peak, and you need to sell during a downturn, you could lose everything. Renters have flexibility during these cycles. If oil crashes and you lose your job, you can downsize your rental immediately. If you own, you're kind of stuck. Or worse, you're forced to sell at the worst possible time. But there's something happening in Calgary's rental market right now that's changing the equation. The supply surge. Over the past 3 years, Calgary has been adding rental supply faster than almost any other Canadian city. New apartment buildings in the Beltline, East Village, and Bridgeland have created thousands of new rental units. This supply growth means renters have more power than they've had in years. Tenants are negotiating rent reductions, free parking, or upgraded units just by being willing to move to a new building. This rental supply also means that buying as an investment strategy could be more competitive. Certain property types and locations you buy in could have more competition, so it's important you understand this. Feel free to call our team for an investor strategy session so you don't make the same mistake when investing in Calgary. And finally, there's a timing factor happening right now that could influence your decision more than anything else. The interest rate trap. Remember Mike and Jennifer from the beginning of this video? The couple who were ready to buy until they saw the real numbers? Their mortgage payment at 4.5% interest was $2,800 monthly. But just 5 years ago, at 1.8% interest, that same mortgage would have been $2,100, a difference of $700 per month, or $8,400 annually. Higher interest rates have fundamentally changed the rent versus buy equation. That $8,400 annual difference makes renting significantly more attractive in the short term. But Mike and Jennifer also understood something important. If these rates come down over the next few years, they can refinance to a lower payment. But they can't go back to buy at today's prices if home values increase. So they made a decision that surprised everyone. They're going to keep renting for another few years, invest the difference aggressively, and then reassess when they have a larger down payment and hopefully lower interest rates. So after everything that we've covered, the real costs, the hidden benefits, the Calgary-specific factors, how do you actually make this decision for yourself? Let me give you the framework that's helped hundreds of my clients make this choice with confidence. First, forget everything you've been told about rent being wasted money. Money is only wasted if it doesn't serve your goals. If renting gives you the flexibility to advance your career, invest in higher return assets, or maintain a financial cushion during uncertain times, that's not waste. That's strategy. Second, run the real numbers. Don't compare rent to mortgage payments. Compare rent to the total cost of ownership, including the opportunity cost. If buying costs significantly more monthly, you need a compelling reason beyond just building equity. Third, be brutally honest about your timeline. If you're staying in Calgary for less than 5 years, renting probably makes more sense. If you're here for 7 plus 10 years with stable income, buying becomes more attractive. Fourth, consider your investment discipline. If you're the type of person who will actually invest the difference between rent and ownership costs, renting can build more wealth. And if you're not, that's okay. The forced savings of home ownership might be better for you. Fifth, factor in your life stage. Young professionals benefit from rental flexibility. Growing families often need the stability and space that home ownership provides. There's no shame in either choice. And finally, understand your risk tolerance. Home ownership in Calgary means exposure to our boom and bust cycles. Renting provides flexibility to adapt to changing circumstances. And so the truth is, there's no universal right answer. Mike and Jennifer chose to keep renting. David the teacher chose to buy. Sarah and Tom bought for their kids' stability. All three made the right choice for their situation. The key is making an informed decision based on your specific circumstances, not what society tells you you're supposed to do. If you want help running these numbers for your situation, or if you're ready to explore either renting or buying in Calgary with someone who'll give you the truth instead of a sales pitch, reach out to us. The link is in the description below. And if this video helped you think differently about renting versus buying, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Are you team rent or team buy? And why? My name is Felix Chan, Calgary realtor and mortgage broker with the Live Interstate Real Estate team, and we will see you in the next video.